My name is Victoria Winters. Nightfall has come to Collinwood, and a cold mist blows in from the sea. A mist that clings to everything it touches, and hides unexplainable horrors that stalk the earth. In the subterranean depths of a deserted old house, there is a girl who dreads the approaching nightfall, for it brings a promise of death. Yet hidden within it, there is an unexpected hope of escape.
Maggie? Maggie! Maggie Evans, I can hear you. I know you're very close. You won't escape. You can never escape. Maggie? Maggie Evans?
She's calling me.
Maggie! Maggie!
I see a light. I'm free.
Did you really think you could escape me? I told you you could never escape. Come. I said come. Who is it? Who's down there? Who is it? What's going on? Hello? All right? Who is it? Why don't you answer? Is it Maggie? Maggie! It is you. Oh, and I found you. Oh, you're not. No, you're breathing. Oh, Maggie. Maggie, you're alive. And I found you. Maggie, open up your eyes. Come on, darling, just open your eyes. That's right. Yes. It's all right. You're going to be all right now. Nothing to worry about. No, don't be afraid. There's nothing to be frightened of. Maggie, don't you recognize me? Why don't you say something, Maggie? Can't you see me? Can't you hear me? Maggie, why don't you say something? Maggie! Did you get this little doll? What's wrong? Maggie! Why can't you say something? Maggie!
How long is she going to be this way?
Oh, there's no telling, Sam. It could be a matter of minutes, and then again, it could be...
Go on.
Well, it could be a matter of hours.
Even days?
Possibly.
Sam?
Joe, what are you doing here?
Oh, I called him.
I thought you weren't going to tell anybody that you brought her here.
Oh, I thought he would like to know.
Maggie. Why'd she jump when I touched her?
Oh, she always jumps when anyone touches her. Why?
Well, probably because somebody or something frightened her terribly. The unexpected touch of somebody's hand, it brings the whole memory of it back to her.
Who would want to do this to her? Who?
Well, only Maggie can tell us that. I think she's going to be able to sooner than you think. Look, Sam, I'm still all up in the air about a lot of this. Will you fill me in? You say you found her on a deserted strip of beach underneath Widow's Hill. Now, to begin with, what were you doing wandering around Widow's Hill?
Well, you won't believe me when I tell you why I was there.
Well, why?
Because of a little girl. A strange little girl who appeared in my living room when I was painting this afternoon.
Appeared?
Yes, I was painting. I have to look up from the canvas, and there she was, apparently just walked in through the front door. And she asked me to do a drawing of her, so I said, all right, I'll do a quick sketch of her. So while we were doing it, I got talking, and I happened to mention Maggie. And she said that she thought I might find Maggie down on that stretch by the beach.
But did she say anything else?
Did she say she'd seen Maggie down there?
No. Oh, it's just that she hoped that I would find Maggie, and that she'd be down on the beach, she thought.
Seems to me it would be a help to us if we could locate this child. She must know something. Have any idea where she lives?
No, I never saw her before in my life. She just ran off before I even finished the sketch.
What did she look like?
She was a nice-looking, pretty kid, about 10, 11 years old.
But she didn't tell you her name.
No, only her first name, that it was Sarah.
Sarah. You said that you still had this sketch you made of this Sarah.
That's right.
I'd like to get a look at that.
Wait a minute, Maggie's saying something.
What? Maggie?
Sarah.
What did she say?
Sarah, the name of the little child. She heard you talking.
Oh. Maggie? Did you recognize me? Huh?
Papa?
That's right, sweetheart.
Papa.
Oh, you haven't called me that in a long time.
Papa.
Yes, sweetheart.
I want my doll.
Doll?
Yes, well, she had some doll with her when I found her. I don't know where she got it.
Here it is.
Here you are, darling.
Papa, when are we going to go?
Go. Go where?
You know, to the fair. You said we were going. You promised. We're going, aren't we?
Yes, of course. I'm taking you.
Sam, what is she talking about?
I promised to take her to the fair once. And then something came up and I couldn't make it. All of a sudden, at the last moment. But that was a long time ago. She wasn't even 10 years old.
Can I try talking to her?
Go ahead.
Hello, Maggie.
Who are you?
Don't you recognize me?
No.
It's Joe.
Joe? I don't know you. Are we friends?
That's right, we are. Very good friends.
Well, then do you want to hold my doll?
Sure.
She's very pretty, isn't she?
Yes, she's very pretty.
I only let my friends hold her. You have to give her back now.
Okay.
Joe. Sam. Let's go in the next room. I'd like to talk to you. I didn't want Maggie to overhear us.
What's wrong, Dave? She's behaving as though she were 10 years old.
Now, look, Sam, I'm no psychiatrist, but it's my hunch that, well, that this is what's happening. She's trying to block out something. Something so terrifying that she can't even begin to cope with it. So what she's doing is she's retrogressing back into her own past, where she feels safe.
Well, she will pull out of it, though, won't she?
Well, again, I'm no authority, but I think she will, in time. You see, as she begins to feel more secure, the present, I think, will become more real to her again. Bit by bit, piece by piece.
I think we've got to get her to a psychiatrist right away.
Well, at the moment, I'm more concerned about Maggie's safety than her mental state.
Safety?
Well, sure, Sam. Face the facts. Whoever it was that kidnapped her may try again, and he might be successful.
Well, we won't give him a chance. We'll put a guard on the thing 24 hours a day. She will...
Quiet now. I've got a much better idea than that.
What is it?
I think we should let it be known that Maggie is dead.
Dead?
I think I can arrange it so that, well, so that everyone will believe it. The proper records and the death certificate, they'll all be signed so that, well, it'll look legitimate. And everyone in Collinsport will believe that when Maggie got here to the hospital, she died, including the person who kidnapped her. As far as I can see, that's the only way that we can keep her completely safe.
Well, no, now, how can you keep her in the hospital without people knowing she's alive?
Oh,
And
no.
everyone who works here will know, the nurses, the orderlies, right down to the janitor. It's bound to get out.
No, Joe, I'm not planning to keep her here in the hospital. My plan is to send her to a nursing home about 100 miles north of here. One run by Dr. Hoffman, Julia Hoffman. You remember the doctor that was supposed to examine her blood sample before it was stolen? Now, she's already extremely interested in the case, and I think she can be convinced to cooperate.
You mean that we're going to have to stage a funeral?
No. I think I can spare you that. Look, what we'll do is this. We'll let out the story that there was a small, completely private ceremony. We'll say with a minister, an old friend of yours from another town, and only you and Joe in attendance. The important part is this. We three must be the only three in the world, outside of Dr. Hoffman, who knows that Maggie is still alive. Sam? Joe?
Yes.
All right. As far as the outside world is concerned, Maggie Evans is dead.
Maggie?
Hello, Papa.
How you doing?
Okay.
Well, I want to tell you something.
What?
Well, we're going to take a little trip.
Trip?
Yeah.
Where?
Oh, someplace nice. You're going to like it.
Are you going to be going along?
Well, there'll be some very nice people there to be taking care of you, and I'll come up and visit you.
And so will I.
You'll be very safe there.
That's
Safe?
right. Safer than you've ever been before.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I believe a Miss Evans was brought here tonight. May I ask her room number?
Miss Evans? Oh, yes, she's in 305, but she isn't allowed visitors.
I see. May I ask how she is?
Her doctor's there, he can tell you.
Dr. Wood.
Oh, Mr. Collins. Would you excuse me for a moment? Miss Packard, would you make sure that these x-rays are properly filed?
Yes, doctor.
Mr. Collins, what are you doing here?
Well, I heard rumor that Maggie Evans was found and brought here. Apparently, it's true.
Yes. Where did you hear this rumor?
Well, from several people. Everyone in town is talking about it.
I'm not surprised.
May I ask how she is?
Mr. Collins, I regret to tell you that Maggie Evans is dead.
Dead.
When her father brought her here to the hospital, she was in a severe state of shock. She never came out of it.
She never told anyone what had happened?
No, she never spoke a word.
Then no one will ever know what happened to her.
Apparently not.
What a tragic loss for Mr. Evans.
Yes. He and Joe Haskell are in the hospital now. Is there any message you'd like me to give them?
Yes. Please express my deepest condolences. And tell them that if there's anything I can do, they must feel free to call on me.
I'll tell them.
Thank you. Good night, Doctor.
Good night.
Dark Shadows is a Dan Curtis production.
My name is Victoria Winters. The cliffs that lead from Collinwood to the sea have stood for centuries. The sound of the sea is a primeval whisper, tempting us to think the world will never change. But we cannot forget that the real world is a changing world, full of knowledge and love and loss.
Vicky, when you have a chance, will you come to the study? Vicky? Vicky, what is it?
I never thought it would happen.
What?
I said I'd never stop hoping.
Vicky, what's happened?
Joe just called.
About what?
Maggie. They found her.
Where? When?
She's dead.
The part of Burke Devlin will be played by Anthony George.
Sip it slowly, it's hot.
Thank you.
I can't tell you how sorry I am.
Maggie was my first friend when I came to Collinsport. She was in the coffee shop the night that I got off the train. She was so warm and friendly. I wish there was going to be some funeral. This way, it's like I never said goodbye to her.
There isn't going to be a funeral?
No. Joe said that Mr. Evans feels that too many people would come to it out of curiosity because of all the mysteries surrounding her disappearance and her death.
Well, in a way, I can sort of understand that.
I guess I can, too. Still, she was my friend.
Is there anything I can do?
Oh, when you came in, I think you said something about wanting to talk to me in the study.
Never mind that now. It hardly seems important.
No, please. I don't want to just stay in here and think about Maggie. What is it?
Well, I had something I wanted to ask you.
What?
Well, it's, I want you to feel free to say no. You can refuse if you want to.
Refuse what?
Well, it's sort of a favor.
Well, then the answer is yes.
You better wait till I've asked it. I'm going to have a legal witness to my marriage.
I see. But wouldn't Roger be the logical choice for it?
I don't have the courage to ask him.
But Mrs. Stoddard...
I know I said you could refuse if you wanted to. Vicky, please don't.
I wasn't going to be there.
Not be there?
I didn't think I'd better.
What do you mean?
Isn't there a moment just before the actual marriage when the minister asks everyone if they know of any reason why the two people shouldn't be married?
Vicky, you wouldn't say anything. You promised you'd never tell what I told you.
I know that. But how am I going to feel standing there and watching you marry that man and knowing that he's forcing you to do it?
Vicky, I've been over this again and again. You know that. This is the only answer. The only way.
You're doing it so Carolyn won't know.
Carolyn mustn't know. She mustn't.
But she might understand, perhaps not at first, but later.
Vicky, I murdered her father. If I told her that...
I don't know what the circumstances were. But I know you, and I'm sure that there must have been something more to it than just a simple act.
Yes, there was. But that's another thing I can't tell her.
What's that?
The kind of man her father was. I tried to once, and you saw what happened. The way she turned on me. No, I just couldn't.
If Carolyn is going to hate you, isn't it better that she hates you for the truth than for a lie?
Not if the lie is easier.
And marrying Jason McGuire is easier?
I'm afraid it is.
Isn't there anything that I can say to make you change your mind?
I can't let anything change my mind. And if your conscience won't allow you to be legally involved, I'll understand.
Well, do you have to know right away?
No, but there isn't much time left, is there?
No, there isn't. I'll try and let you know sometime today.
Thank you.
For what?
For not saying no right away.
Carolyn, are you going out?
No, I'm just getting ready for 3 o'clock tea. Except I see I'm a little bit late.
Could I talk to you for a minute?
Why is it every time I'm on my way out the front door, somebody wants to talk to me? I know what you're going to say.
I don't think you do.
And the answer is yes. I am going to meet Buzz. And any other incredulous questions will all get the same answer. Yes, I'm madly in love with him. And yes, of course, I'm going to marry him. Now may I go?
Carolyn, Maggie Evans is dead.
Oh, no. How did it happen?
When Mr. Evans found her, she was alive, but she died in the hospital.
When?
Last night. Joe just called.
Joe. Poor Maggie. Do they know what happened?
Apparently not. But I didn't want to ask Joe too many questions. He was pretty shook up, huh? I guess so. But you know Joe. He doesn't always let you know how deeply he's feeling. Well, I thought you'd probably want to know.
Vicky.
Mm-hmm.
You and Maggie were really good friends, weren't you?
Yes.
I'm sorry this happened. I really am.
Thank you.
And I must admit I don't feel very much like going out.
Then don't.
I told Buzz I'd meet him.
Tell him you changed your mind.
But I haven't. Really?
Can't you call it off just for tonight?
I don't want to. After all, the wedding's only a few days off.
And you've got to hurt your mother as much as possible.
What does this have to do with my mother? I'm talking about my wedding, not hers. I don't think it would be fair not to spend some time with my future husband.
Oh, come on.
You just don't know what love is like, Vicky, that's all.
Stop it.
I'm sorry, Vicky. The last thing we should be doing today is arguing.
I wouldn't mind arguing if I thought it was going to do some good.
Well, it won't. So let's just skip it.
Carolyn, you just don't know what you're doing. If you did.
But I do.
No, you don't.
Thanks for giving me the excuse of ignorance, Vicky. But I don't want it. I know exactly what I'm doing, and I'm doing it deliberately.
Maybe you do know what you're doing. But you don't know what your mother's doing.
She's marrying Jason McGuire.
And you think that's all there is to it?
Isn't it enough?
I thought you used to think that he had some hold over her.
That was before my mother opened the room in the basement.
And that's all it took to convince you that he wasn't having any hold over her?
Vicky, Do you know something I should know? Do you? No. No, I don't. I just know that you shouldn't be doing this to your mother. Why? Because it's just possible that Jason is forcing her to marry him after all? Maybe. Well, if that's the case, then I know I'd be doing exactly what I am doing. I don't understand. If my mother hasn't got the courage to stand up to Jason McGuire, if she's giving in to him and forgetting all about my father...
Your mother has a lot more courage than you and I could ever hope to have.
And as for forgetting about your father... Vicky.
I'm sorry.
I just don't see how you can stand up for her when we both know what she's doing.
I can't help it.
Vicky, do you know something I don't?
No.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Then don't talk to me about my mother's so-called courage. She's selling out to Jason McGuire. She's selling herself out, and she's selling out my father. And if you think I'm a sellout too, let's just say it runs in the family.
The ocean's quieting down.
Look, there's a freighter out there. Wonder where it's going.
You want to sit down?
I wonder how far we've walked.
Oh, I don't know. 3 miles, maybe 4.
Maybe we should start back.
Oh, no, we've got time. Let's sit here a minute.
The tide's coming in.
Yeah.
Look at our footprints. They're being washed away. Pretty soon, no one will even be able to tell we've come this way. The beach will be as smooth as though we'd never been here. As though we'd never existed.
You don't have to talk about Maggie if you don't want to.
What's there to talk about? She's gone, Burke. We loved her, and we'll try not to forget her.
I wonder if Woodard will find out exactly what it was.
Doesn't seem to matter anymore.
I think it does.
Why? She's dead.
But the man who's probably responsible is still around, don't forget. In some way, it might lead to him.
Somehow that doesn't seem to matter anymore either.
How can you say that?
Maggie's gone. Who killed her and why and where? Well, those things don't matter.
But if he's the same madman who's been terrorizing the town...
You're right. He should be caught. And I hope he is. But I just don't care. I know that I should, but I just don't.
Well, I hope they find him all right. And I hope he gets what he deserves, if that's possible.
But if he's mad, maybe he couldn't help it. We all do things, terrible things that we can't help, even if we're not mad.
Vicky, somebody murdered Maggie very cruelly, very brutally. Compassion is one thing, but we can't just turn the world over to madmen and killers. We've got to take some kind of a stand.
Well, what if you can't take a stand?
But why can't we? If they find the man who killed Maggie, what are you going to do? Just turn him loose?
No, of course
then
not.
What are you talking about?
Nothing. Burke, don't pay any attention to anything I say.
You've got something else on your mind, haven't you?
Can't we just sit here?
Sure. Sure, if you want to.
Liz is really going to marry Jason, isn't she?
Yes, in a few days.
And there's no way to stop her, is there?
No.
And there's no way to stop Carolyn either, is there?
Doesn't look like it.
You've really got the whole world coming down around your ears, haven't you?
I'm all right.
Ship's disappeared. There's nothing between here and the horizon.
I wish it could always be that way. Quiet, empty.
You'd get sick of it after a while.
I guess so.
It's getting dark out there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should start to turn back.
No, can't we stay here just a little bit longer?
It might start to get dark.
Maybe that's the way it should always be. Quiet. And peaceful. And dark.
First you say you want to make the scene, then you say you don't.
Can't I come home if I want to?
Anytime you want. But we had plans.
Hi, Mother. Buzz and I have decided to spend a quiet evening at home. Well, sort of quiet, anyway.
But I got plans. I don't want to spend time in this mausoleum.
If you two are going to be in the drawing room, I'll go into the study.
You can't make plans for a drawing room. Now, come on, let's go. How about it? They're waiting for us.
You can go ahead if you want to.
I made these plans for you.
So save them.
Plans like these don't keep.
If you'll excuse me,
Don't go, Mother. We're just having a little family disagreement.
I'll go into the study. Oh, Vicky, I'm going into the study. When you have a chance, will you come in?
I'll come with you right now. Okay, forget the freeze. Buzz is just leaving.
I am.
You have plans, remember?
But they include you.
Well, include me tomorrow. Tonight I don't feel like getting myself included.
Maybe tomorrow there won't be any plans.
I'll take my chances.
You always pull a cop out like this.
No. I'll see you tomorrow. Same place. Be there, huh?
Like you said, you take your chances.
I'm a little tired tonight for a change. The girl's got it right. Carolyn. Carolyn, I'm glad that you decided to stay home tonight. Well, don't let it give you any ideas. Either of you. I still haven't changed my mind about Buzz, and I'm not about to. If you say so. Okay. I saw Joe. You talked to Joe? No, I didn't talk to him. But I saw him. You know, just sort of walking down the road. We went past him on the motorcycle. He didn't even look up. It just sort of made me not feel like tearing around tonight, that's all.
Well, I'm glad to know you have some feelings left.
I'm sorry, Mother, for a change. I don't even feel like arguing.
Carolyn. I'm sorry, too. I shouldn't have said that.
It doesn't matter. I'm sure the truce is temporary. Mrs. Stoddard, I'm sure that you can tell her the truth. I know it. She is capable of understanding.
She's so changed. She really did feel sorry for Joe on account of Maggie, didn't she?
Tell her now.
Now?
She'd listen to you now.
Listen to me?
Doesn't this prove that she's capable of sympathy and understanding?
But what I have to tell her is so different.
But she wouldn't try to hurt you once you'd started to tell her.
Maybe I could tell her.
Yes, do it.
Tomorrow.
No, now.
I can't.
This may be your last chance. She could leave at any time.
Leave?
She said that she might.
Oh, she wouldn't.
She wouldn't if you told her the truth.
I can't.
You want to tell her. You know you do.
No, I've told you I can't tell her. Now, please, stop.
All right.
Tomorrow I'll ask Roger if he'll agree to be my legal witness. I can see that you prefer not to be.
You don't have to ask Roger.
But you don't want to do it. I know you don't. And I can't say that I blame you. On top of everything else, I'm a coward.
No. In your own way, you're a very brave woman. And no matter what, I'd consider it an honor to stand beside you.
Dark Shadows is a Dan Curtis production.
My name is Victoria Winters. A moment ago, a gull circled the sky over Collinwood, scanning the sea below for food on which its survival depends. Its eye briefly caught a flash of silver in the morning sunlight. It swooped to the sea, only to be caught up by a tidal wave and carried to a watery grave. There is a moment before disaster strikes, a quiet moment. But there is terror in the silence, for the rush of destruction is to follow in its wake. For one girl, this is such a moment, and her heart is numb with fear.
Carolyn? Carolyn? What? Didn't you hear me? I guess not. I was thinking. What's the matter? Did you see the paper this morning? No, not yet. Another girl was attacked last night. Another girl? I thought that was over with. So did I. Apparently it isn't. Apparently that madman is still around. And while he's around, no one is safe. He's responsible for Maggie's death. I know that. I have a feeling he isn't going to stop with Maggie. The police have got to catch him soon. What if they don't? But they will. They have to. I had a dream last night. I dreamt I saw the maniac who's been doing these things. And I knew who his next victim was going to be. Who? Me. It was a terrible dream. I was in a dark and desolate place. I knew there was someone near me, but I couldn't see. And then suddenly a hand reached out from the darkness and grabbed me. And I knew I couldn't get away. I tried to scream, but I couldn't. That was the terrifying part of it. I was too frightened to scream.
It's perfectly natural for you to have a dream like that after hearing about Maggie.
Poor Maggie.
I know. I haven't been able to think about anything else.
Maybe we should try to stop thinking about it. Maggie is gone. There's nothing we can do for her.
I thought I might go over and see Mr. Evans this morning, see if there's anything I can do for him.
I should go to Joe and tell him how sorry I am, even though there's nothing I can do. Joe's tried to be my friend, and now I want to be his if I can.
You know something, Carolyn? This is the first time in weeks that we've been able to talk without arguing.
Well, I don't feel very much like arguing.
No, I don't either.
Friends shouldn't argue. And in spite of everything, we're still friends.
Of course we are.
So, let's not mention Buzz and me, or Jason McGuire, or my mother's marriage plans, or anything else we might argue about.
Carolyn, there is one thing that I feel I should mention.
Don't, if it means we'll get into a fight.
You're going to find out anyway. You might as well find out from me. Your mother asked me to be her witness at the marriage, and I said yes.
Her witness? So you're going to be a part of Mother's wedding party? Well, how nice. How nice of Mother to include you. But then you seem to have become her second daughter. Only daughter, I should say.
Please, don't be this way.
I'm happy for you, Vicky. I really am. You've always wanted a family, and now you've got one.
Why do you have to be so bitter?
I'm not bitter, Vicky. Don't you see? I don't care what my mother does.
That's not true. You wouldn't be acting this way if it were.
What way?
You wouldn't even look at Buzz if you weren't upset with your mother. You know that as well as I do.
Do I? Well, thank you very much for the instant analysis, but I don't need it.
Carolyn,
what?
Look at us. A minute ago, we just said that we weren't going to argue, and now we are.
I wish we could be friends, Vicky, but I guess it just isn't possible.
Don't say that.
Why not? It's true, isn't it? I've asked my mother to leave me alone. Well, from now on, Vicky, the same thing goes for you. I'm not asking for your advice, and I don't want it. So from now on, leave me alone. Just leave me alone.
There's nobody here. Yeah, we can talk. How is she, Dave? No improvement at all. Yeah, I know it's too early to expect it, but, well, I just thought that... Yeah, I know. And I mean to be patient. Maggie's alive. That's what matters most. Yes, we both know how important it is to keep up the act. Maggie's life may depend on it. I've got to see her soon, Dave. I've got to. Oh, listen, there's somebody at the door. I better go now. I'll call you later. Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Evans.
Oh, Vicky. Hello.
I hope I'm not disturbing you.
Not at all. No. Come on in. Have a seat on the sofa.
I came by because I wanted to know if there was anything that I could do.
Well, thank you, but there isn't anything.
I was hoping there would be.
That's very kind of you.
Mr. Evans, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to put it into words.
Well, Vicky, then please don't. Just don't say anything.
All right.
I'm, sorry that we couldn't invite you to the funeral, but, well, we decided to keep it private and get it over with as quickly as possible.
I understand.
I knew you would.
Mr. Evans,
Yes?
Well, I was wondering if you'd like me to dispose of Maggie's things.
Well, dispose of her things?
Well, I thought that they might be a constant reminder to you of things that you want to forget.
I don't want to forget Maggie.
No, I didn't mean it that way.
I know. I know, but I don't plan on disposing of Maggie's things. I just want to keep them, everything in the house, the same as it was when Maggie died.
Isn't there anything else that I can do?
No, there's nothing.
Well, I won't keep you any longer.
Vicky,
Yes?
you were very fond of Maggie, weren't you?
She was my friend. She was my first friend when I came here. I'm not going to forget her.
Vicky,
Yes?
Thanks for stopping by.
Of course. Joe?
Oh, hi.
Hello.
What brings you out here?
I was looking for you. They told me you were out here.
Yeah, I spend a lot of my lunch hours here.
I know. I used to meet you out here sometimes, remember?
Yes, I remember.
It seems like 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, was it? Strange. It was less than a year ago.
Well, a year can be a long time. A lot can happen.
I know. Joe,
Yeah?
I don't know how to say it.
Is it about Maggie?
Yes.
You want to say you're sorry, that's it, isn't it?
I wish I could say a lot more than that.
Consider it said.
I knew you probably wouldn't want to talk about her.
I don't. But I appreciate what you're trying to say. It just doesn't need to be said.
You were in love with her, weren't you?
I still am.
Were you planning to be married?
We talked about it.
Joe, I wish there was something I could say. Something I could do that would make a difference.
Carolyn, I'm grateful for your sympathy, but I don't want it and I don't need it. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
I hear you're getting married.
Who told you that?
It's all over town.
I'm thinking about it.
Only thinking?
No. Buzz and I are engaged.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
We have a ball together. I think we're going to be very happy.
I hope so.
But you don't approve.
It's not up to me to approve or disapprove.
Still, you think I'm making a mistake. A lot of people do, but they're wrong.
Go ahead and marry him. It's your business.
I'm sorry, Joe,
For what?
for talking about myself when I came to see if I could do something for you.
We all think about ourselves.
Not the way I do. I can be selfish and cruel. I know that. I know how cruel I was to you.
What happened between us is ancient history.
Maybe. But I was cruel. And I wish I hadn't been. Not to you.
Look, Carolyn, why do we have to go into this now? Huh?
Because you make me feel so ashamed.
I do.
I wish I could be as brave as you are.
Brave, me?
If someone I loved had just died, I'd go all to pieces. I know I would.
I thought we weren't going to talk about Maggie.
I mean, I wish I could be the way you are. You know how to cope with life. I don't.
I'm not always so good at it.
You are. You wouldn't go to pieces if your mother decided to marry somebody you couldn't stand. You wouldn't...
Take up with the wrong sort of person just for spite?
I didn't say that.
That's what you were going to say, isn't it?
I don't know which way to turn, Joe. I can't understand what my mother is doing. All I know is I want to hurt her. I need to hurt her.
Even if you hurt yourself in the process.
I'm not hurting myself. I dig Buzz and he digs me. We could be very happy.
If you really believe that, then marry him. If you don't, don't. But don't do it just to hurt your mother or anybody else. End of advice.
There we go again. Talking about me.
It's all right.
I wish I could do something for you, Joe.
Nothing you can do.
Call on me if there's anything you need. Will you?
Sure. And thanks.
Goodbye, Joe.
So long.
Hi.
Hi. How is Mr. Evans?
Oh, he was all right, considering the circumstances.
That's good.
Did you see Joe?
Yes.
How's he?
Vicky, I admire him more than I ever admired anyone in my life. The whole world is falling down around his ears. But he's taking it. And without even complaining. Vicky, when I was with him, I felt so insignificant.
Why?
Because he's everything I'm not. Brave, sensible, understanding.
You could be all those things if you wanted to be.
Vicky, what's the matter with me? Why do I want to be cruel and destructive? Why do I want to hurt people?
Those are questions that you've got to answer for yourself.
I don't want to be that way. I really don't, but...
But what?
I don't know. I'm sorry we had that fight this morning.
I am too.
I started it. I'm always starting fights. I don't know why.
It's over now.
And I'm glad. I don't like to... What's the matter? Those violets. I didn't notice them before.
What about them?
Don't you know what they are, Vicky? They're Jason's little gift to Mother. He gets them for her practically every day.
I know.
Very romantic, isn't it? At least Mother seems to think so.
Oh, Carolyn, please stop it.
All right, I'll stop it. What my mother does is her own business.
Where are you going?
Out, to find Buzz.
You don't really want to do that.
I don't want to stay in this house another minute. If my mother asks, I won't be home until late. Very late. If she cares.
What did Dr. Woodard say?
He and Maggie arrived safely at the sanitarium. Dr. Hoffman had her first session with Maggie this morning.
Well, has there been any improvement?
No. No, but Dave told me it was too soon to expect it.
Yeah, I suppose so. What else did he say?
Well, he reminded me how vitally important it is to keep pretending that Maggie's dead.
It isn't easy.
Oh, you don't have to tell me that. Vicki Winters was here this morning, and I almost came that close to telling her the truth.
I know. I talked to Carolyn today. I felt like a fraud listening to her tell me how sorry she was.
Yes, I know. But, I don't know what we can do about it. You know, I don't see what harm it would do to perhaps tell either one of them. Vicki especially. She's trustworthy.
We can't tell anyone, Sam. If the news ever got out, that maniac might get a hold of it and...
Ah, you're right. You're right, we can't trust anyone. We've got to keep Maggie secret. I know it's going to be hard, but her life depends on it. We can only hope that we can find the maniac that did this to her. Whoever he is.
Dark Shadows is a Dan Curtis production.
My name is Victoria Winters. A tangled web of deception is being spun at Collinwood. Lips have been sealed because the truth will imperil others. But there is one who has brought his devious plans to the point of fruition, and he is determined not to allow anything to happen that might prevent him from achieving his goal.
Ah, Roger. Good evening. I said good evening.
I heard you.
Oh. For a moment there, I thought your voice might have been affected, or your hearing.
It's not my hearing that's affected.
Oh, I see. So that's how the wind is blowing, is it? I do hope you're not leaving on my account, Roger.
That is precisely why I'm leaving.
Well, I'm sorry that you feel that way, since we are practically brothers-in-law.
We're not brothers-in-law yet, and if I can do anything about it, you won't be. You seem to find humor in everything.
Yes, I do. Especially in hollow threats.
Do you think it's impossible to prevent you from marrying my sister?
Oh, I think that if an obstacle could have been placed in the way of this marriage, it would have been done long before this. Liz and I are going to be wed on schedule. But I'm sure that as time goes by, this little barrier between us will be lifted.
I still contend that she won't go through with it.
How little you know her.
You must know that I will never be anything to you except an enemy.
All right. Then let me tell you something, brother-in-law. I've gone out of my way. I've bent over backwards. I've smiled at you when I should have spat. And now let me tell you, if it's an enemy you're after, you've chosen an adversary who never loses. And if you continue to oppose me, you may find yourself hung up on the short end of Collinwood.
Do you really think that if by some fluke you should marry my sister,
Never mind
you
what
would
I
get
mean.
control of this estate?
Never mind what I mean.
Well, just for your information, some papers are being drawn up which will prevent any such takeover.
Papers being drawn up, my dear Roger, is step number 1. The signing of those papers is step number 2. And step number 1 is no good without step number 2.
They will be signed, I assure you, along with other preventative measures.
Preventative?
Measures that will prevent you from being married altogether. Now, I find your presence in this room, it makes it just a little less habitable.
Barnabas, it's all taken care of down there.
There are no traces of the Evans girl left in that room?
I cleaned it up. There's nothing there.
Good.
What's the matter?
I thought I saw someone out there.
David?
No, but it could have been a child.
Barnabas, what are we going to do now?
About what?
Well, she's dead. Maggie Evans is dead.
Well, there isn't much can do about it.
I didn't count on her dying.
Well, no one ever counts on it. But it happens.
I mean, she seemed all right. She seemed like she was going to be okay.
Yes, her death was a surprise to me. But I'm still not certain of the cause.
Aren't you? Well, I'll tell you. We're the cause. We put her through something that no one should have to go through. I've done rotten things in my life, but nothing like this. I hate myself for it.
And me? Do you also hate me?
You know how I feel.
Yes, I do. Take care, Willie. I can tolerate only so much opposition.
I just didn't figure this kind of thing would happen. We went too far. Too far.
My existence has rather special requirements.
That girl's death wasn't part of it. You could have gone on without her.
I'll be the judge of what I need. If you really don't want to work for me, you know the alternative, don't you?
Yeah, I know.
Your life dangles by a thread. Be careful that you don't put too much strain on it. I suggest you forget the Evans girl.
Yeah, I'll forget. If I can.
Now, I want you to go outside. I feel sure there's someone out there.
Sure, I'll go out and look around. And I'll try not to think. I'll try not to think who your next victim will be.
Hello, Barnabas.
Roger, this is a surprise. Come in, please.
Thank you. I was out getting some fresh sea air, and I thought I'd look in on you. I hope I'm not interrupting you.
Not at all. I'm glad you dropped by. Could I give you some Amontillado?
Oh, yes, that would be very nice.
Do you come by this way often?
No, it's simply this is one of those evenings that I just had to get out of the house. I couldn't stay there another minute.
You seem quite disturbed.
Yes, I am. There's a situation at Collinwood that's unbearable. I cannot live with it.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. To better times, then.
I don't mean to bring my troubles here to you, but I think it's something that you could understand and sympathize with. It concerns the marriage of my sister.
Yes, I know how distressed you must be.
Well, you and I have a feeling for tradition and family continuity. When I mention Jason McGuire, it has nothing to do with his social position. My objection to him is simply that I think he's dishonest in forcing my sister to marry him.
Forcing her?
Yes. There exists something between them that is anything but affection. He has some sort of hold over her.
I wasn't aware of this. Well, it did strike me as rather an odd relationship, but then I felt it was none of my business. Have you any idea what this hold is?
No, but it's something of long standing. We've tried to get to the bottom of it. We've theorized, we've tried to figure it out, but we've come up with nothing.
Well, my encounters with Mr. McGuire have been very few, but I know he's a man not to be trusted.
That is the majority opinion. It's obvious that he's after all of the Collins wealth, as much as he can get.
And Elizabeth can't be dissuaded from this marriage?
Well, she's been the target of many speeches by all of us. Carolyn has even gone off the deep end in an attempt to stop her. She's threatened to marry some young person in town who is undoubtedly one of the most disreputable people in the entire county.
This has the terrible sound of a family disintegrating.
Well, that's exactly what it is. We all feel so helpless about it.
Well, I don't like to get myself involved in this sort of thing, but if you want, I could talk to Elizabeth.
No, thank you very much, but I don't think it would do any good, and it would just put you in a difficult position.
Is it possible that McGuire could be bought off?
No. Seems to me that he has set higher goals for himself. He's going all out this time.
I see what you mean.
I hate to think what would happen to this estate and to the enterprise if he got control of it. We've got our family lawyers writing papers up that will prevent anything like that, but McGuire has indicated that he can do something to keep the papers from being signed, in which case we would be at his mercy.
Not a very pleasant prospect.
Oh, I only wish that there was someone who could deal with him, someone who knew how to handle him.
Well, since the disposition of this property would involve me, I think perhaps I will have a word with Mr. McGuire. I understand him, and I think I might be able to ease the situation.
Would you do that? I would appreciate it.
Yes. Yes, I'll speak to him right away.
Out here?
Looking for someone to play with, but I can't find anyone.
Well, there isn't anyone to play with. It's late and everyone's home. That's where you should be.
Home? I'm not far from home.
Where do you live?
Around here.
Your mother and father must be looking for you.
I can't find them.
Well, maybe they're home or somewhere near there.
No.
And where are they?
I don't know. I've been looking for them. For such a long time, I can't find them anywhere.
Hey, kiddo, I don't understand you. Hey, are you the one who was playing with David?
David?
Uh-huh.
Oh, yes. I met a boy named David. I was looking for him, too, but I couldn't find him.
Yeah, well, that's because he's not supposed to play here, and you're not supposed to play here either. Now, nobody is.
I have to have some place to play.
Well, you play someplace else, but not around here.
I wouldn't know where to go.
Look, I'm not going to sit around talking to you all night. Now, you get out of here, and you get out of here now.
I don't know where to go.
But this ain't a safe place, you understand? It ain't safe around here. Now, you better get going, you understand? Now, which way's your house?
I live over there.
Oh, no, that's the old house, Mr. Collins' house. Now, where do you live?
I told you.
Hey, I know what's the matter. You're lost, huh? Now, come on now. It's a good thing I found you. You come with me, and I'll take you back toward town. That's where you live.
No, I live over there.
Oh, I haven't got time to argue with you. Now, you just follow me, and I'll take you back to town.
Hey, little girl. Where'd you go? Where are you? Where are you? Little girl?
Yes, I can see that your interest in the old house would be in considerable jeopardy if the estate were to fall into other hands.
Yes, it might create problems for me. That's why I would like you to look into the possibility of a proviso in one of the original deeds that might have anticipated a situation like this.
Well, I'll look upstairs. Would you mind waiting inside?
Certainly.
Ah, Mr. Collins. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Maguire. You appear to be quite comfortable.
Well, these are very comfortable surroundings. One might as well take advantage of the facilities.
Quite so. I understand there's to be a change in, shall we say, family relationships.
Relationships? Ah, yes. Very well put. You're referring, of course, to my marriage to your cousin.
Yes, that's it.
Well, it promises to be a very happy event.
Does it?
Yes, it does. And I intend to take every measure to ensure that it does. This marriage means a chance at happiness for your cousin Liz. Oh, but I'm sure you've taken that into consideration.
I've taken many things into consideration. I certainly don't want to become a partisan in this situation, because it isn't quite my business.
Well, I'm very happy that you realize that and said it yourself.
But I'm concerned with your motives.
Oh. I see. You've been talking to the family.
I've hardly discussed it with anyone.
I hope not.
But there is the possibility that I know more about you than the others.
Know about me? Whatever does that mean? Oh, yes. My former friend. Your employee, Willie Loomis.
He's told me very little, actually. Now, I base what I'm saying on the few contacts that I've had with you.
Oh? And just what is it that you are saying?
I'm expressing concern for the future of the Collins family.
Oh, well, the Collins family has a great future, I assure you.
I want to be certain that the Collins estate remains as it has been, intact.
It certainly shall.
I hope so. But I'm also concerned that the estate doesn't fall into the hands of an unscrupulous person.
Unscrupulous? Do you by chance mean me?
I'm speaking generally. But there are certain things in your past that give me pause. Things that may have been done in the shadows, that may have not been within the law.
I see. Well, let me tell you something, Mr. Collins. If you have any accusations to make at all, I suggest that you come right out with them. I may even go so far as to suggest that you get the sheriff and make them to him, because I don't intend to be intimidated by you or anyone else.
Oh, Mr. Maguire, your attempts at self-righteousness are amusing indeed.
Oh, really? Well, I'm very glad that you're amused, because I also am very amused. Very amused indeed at this little game we have going between us.
Game?
Yes, it's called Which of Us is More Righteous Than the Other. Apparently you're very adept at this game.
You're being very elliptic, Mr. Maguire. Just what do you mean?
I mean, Mr. Collins, that I've been taking a long, hard look at you. And I've come to wonder, just who are you? And just what is it that you do? You see, you have hired a former friend of mine, a man whose character leaves much to be desired, and who fills the description of an unscrupulous person. Well, now, I have to ask myself, what does a man like Mr. Collins want with a man like Willie? Why should a gentleman hire a man like Willie? It strikes me that perhaps a man like Willie fits very well into whatever it is that you do, that you need a man like him. Tell me, Mr. Collins, just what is it that you do?
That is my business.
Oh, yes, of course. It's your business. But tell me, what is your business, Mr. Collins? Where do you get your money? I know you're from the foreign branch, and obviously there must be some money there. But you don't have any accounts at the bank in town. I know you don't operate a business. Yet you go somewhere in the daytime. Every day, in fact. Come to think of it, Mr. Collins, I've never seen you in the daytime. Tell me, just where is it that you go? You know, you're a mystery to me, Mr. Collins. And you're beginning to interest me very much.
What's the matter?
I've just had a talk with your friend Maguire. He's beginning to ask questions.
That's the way he is, full of bluffs.
If he isn't careful, he'll have to be dealt with.
He likes to bluff everybody. Don't worry about him. Oh, by the way, you were right about somebody being outside.
Who was it?
Some little girl. Found her wandering out there. I sent her on her way. She took off pretty fast.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, she must have run fast, because I turned my back and she was gone. Strange kid. Seemed kind of lost. Had no sense of direction. When I asked her where she lived, she kept pointing at this house.
Dark Shadows is a Dan Curtis production.
My name is Victoria Winters. A morning wind has cleared the nighttime mists that shrouded Collinwood, and seen from the cliffs, the sea and sky share a summer blue that obscures the far horizon, hinting perhaps that the boundary dividing earth and heaven has been dissolved. But other boundaries remain. The boundaries that separate a tormented father from his daughter. The boundaries in knowledge that separate mystery from truth. And the boundaries within the mind that separate a young woman from herself.
Can you hear my voice? Can you hear my voice? Don't answer, just nod. Can you hear my voice? Good. Good. Now just concentrate on the light. Raise your right hand. Raise your right hand. Your right hand. Raise your right hand. Very good. Lower your right hand. Do you know who is speaking? Do you know who is speaking to you? What is my name? Do you know who I am?
Doctor?
Yes, doctor. But do I have a name? What is my name?
Doctor.
Dr. Hoffman. Dr. Hoffman.
Dr. Hoffman.
Good. Do you know your name? Do you have a name? What is your name? Don't be frightened. Just tell me, what is your name?
You mean to tell me that I can't even see my own daughter?
I'm just telling you, I don't think it's a very good idea.
But I haven't had one word from that Dr. Hoffman since we took her up to the hospital.
Now listen, Sam, for better or for worse, Julia Hoffman isn't a particularly communicative woman.
You mean you haven't heard anything either?
Just a brief letter telling me that Maggie Evans was under treatment.
And that's all?
I think it's all we have a right to expect right now.
No report of her condition. Is she better? Is she worse? Nothing at all.
Well, it's possible that there's nothing to report that we don't know already.
We don't know anything.
Well, maybe Dr. Hoffman doesn't either at this point.
Well, she should have notified either you or me about that.
Now, look, Sam, I told you right from the start that Julia Hoffman was a little bit unusual as doctors go.
I think a little bit too unusual.
Wouldn't she almost have to be as interested as she is in treating Maggie?
What do you mean?
Now, look, Maggie's case is far from ordinary. We both know that.
But I can still see myself turning her over to somebody I know absolutely nothing about. A doctor I've never even met. The night we took her up there, I didn't even meet her.
I've given you my word that Hoffman's best for Maggie.
Has she showed her the sketch of the child yet? You know, the little girl that brought me down to the beach. Now, did Maggie recognize her?
I don't know. I've told you I don't know any more than you know.
Dave, I've got to see her. I'm going to go crazy if I don't.
Listen, Sam, you're not going to go crazy. You've held on this long. I know you. You're not going to give up that easily.
Oh, but I feel like I've lost her all over again. I hear the wind at night, and I think she's calling to me. I'm lying asleep. I hear a dog howling, and I wake up and I find myself shouting her name. Maggie, Maggie, Maggie.
You know as well as I do that Maggie is safe and that she's under good care.
I've got to see her with my own eyes. I've got to.
Well, maybe she shouldn't see you. Maybe she shouldn't see anybody or anything that'll remind her of the present.
But isn't the present what we're trying to bring her back to?
Yes. But isn't it obvious that she's so terrified of it that she doesn't want to come back? You and I have no right to force her.
All right. Then don't let her see me. But let me see her. I know it sounds stupid and hysterical, but please, Dave. You know what I went through when she was missing. Thinking I'd never find her. And then all of a sudden to find her only to lose her again. Now, if Dr. Hoffman doesn't want me to see her, okay, I'll accept that. But I've just got to see her. If only for a few minutes.
Look, to begin with, Sam, Windcliffe's over 100 miles away.
Dave, are you sure those are the real reasons you don't want me to go there?
Of course I am.
Are you sure?
Well, they sound logical enough, don't they?
Yes. But I keep having the feeling there are other reasons. Is there something there? Something at Windcliffe that you don't want me to see? Something about, has something to do with Maggie?
Of course there isn't,
Dave.
Sam.
For the first time in my life, I don't don't think I believe you.
All right. I'll call Dr. Hoffman and see if she minds having a visitor.
Make it plural. Visitors. Joe's coming along with me, I promised him.
Now, just 1 minute.
Now, look, if she doesn't want Joe to see her, all right, he'll accept that. But he's coming with me, I promised him.
All right. See what Hoffman has to say.
Don't call her.
What?
Don't phone her.
But I have to.
Don't!
What do you mean?
Because I know as well as you do what she's going to say. She's going to say, don't come up here.
Now, look, Sam, you promised to abide by whatever Dr. Hoffman said.
But she's less likely to say I can't see her if I'm already there.
Now, look, I have to call that doctor.
Okay. But don't do it until Joe and I are gone. I don't want anything to stop us.
Sam, this isn't the way that this should be done.
All right. If that's not the way to be done, that's the only way if I'm going to get to see Maggie, and I don't care. Was it a deal? Will you call her after we leave?
No.
All right, then tell her I'm going to come up there anyhow.
I won't be able to.
You won't be able to? Why not?
Because I'm going to be coming up there myself. With you and Joe.
Sam, maybe we really shouldn't be doing this.
I thought you wanted to see her.
Well, I do, but...
But what?
Well, I don't know about you, but if I see her and she doesn't recognize me like it was at the hospital just before she left.
But she's going to be better than she was then.
She seemed so lost, so helpless. She even looked as though we were deliberately trying to hurt her.
How can you say that?
Frighten her in some way, only we couldn't help it. Now, what if it's like that all over again? What if it's worse for her than it is for us?
You think we should turn around, don't you?
I don't know what to think. All I know is that I'm scared.
So am I.
I'm sorry to be so abrupt, but I can't say I'm happy to see you or Mr. Evans and Mr. Haskell.
I didn't think you would be, Doctor, but I still think that Sam Evans' feelings should be taken into consideration.
I am not interested in Mr. Evans. My only concern is with Miss Evans.
I know that's how you feel. But I appeal to you, Doctor, to let Sam Evans see his daughter if it's at all possible.
Would you ask Mr. Evans and Mr. Haskell to come in, please? Thank you.
Good afternoon, Doctor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Evans. This is an unexpected pleasure. And you're Mr. Haskell.
Yes, that's right.
I want to see my daughter.
It's a little unorthodox not to notify me in advance. However, my methods are sometimes unorthodox, too.
You mean we can see her?
I think it can be arranged. I must warn you, however, that it could prove quite painful, both to you and to your daughter.
Well, isn't that more or less to be expected?
Pain does not always come in the way we expect. I just want to be sure you are ready for what may happen.
And what do you think might happen?
I don't know. If I knew, I wouldn't have to allow you to see your daughter so I could find out. Mr. Evans and Mr. Haskell are here to see Miss Evans. Would you see that they're taken up? Thank you. My nurse will show you where to go.
Can we both go up at once?
Why not?
Let's go, Joe. Coming, Dave?
No, you two will go on ahead. I want to talk to Dr. Hoffman.
All right. And, thanks, Doctor.
Reserve your thanks for afterwards, Mr. Evans. I have a feeling they're going to be a little more hesitant.
You really mean you don't know what's going to happen and you're going to let them go on up there and see her?
I know exactly what's going to happen.
What do you mean?
Oh, it'll be terrible. Her, for them.
Well, then why are you letting them go?
It's the only way to convince them not to meddle.
Doctor, they're not meddling. Surely you must understand how anxious they are to see her.
I am not interested in them, only in her. Forgive me if I seem to be without sympathy, but sympathy can sometimes be a hindrance or a deterrent. I'm looking for the truth. In this case, it is the truth alone that concerns me, nothing else.
Maggie, you have company. Your father is here. And a friend of yours, Joe Haskell. Would you like to see them? Come in. Please don't stay for more than a few minutes. I'll be right outside if you need me.
Maggie?
Hi, sweetheart.
You look fine, honey.
Yeah, how are you feeling?
I see you still got that little doll you found, huh?
Maggie, you getting everything you need? Is there anything we can get for you, send to you?
Honey, come on back and sit down, huh?
Maggie, you dropped your doll.
You want your doll? Here. Oh, it's very pretty. Do you remember where you found the doll?
Sam, I don't think we ought to be asking her any questions.
You remember once you had a doll you called Cassandra? Remember? And how angry you used to get when your mother and I used to call it Sandy?
Sam, we
remember?
really shouldn't try to make her remember anything.
I'm trying to get through to her.
But you can't.
Falling down, falling
Maggie?
down,
You remember me, Maggie?
London Bridge is falling down.
Was that
My fair
was that one of your favorite games? Hmm?
take the key and lock her up. Lock her up. Take the key and
Maggie,
lock her up.
Maggie,
Now,
no
take it
one
easy,
is
honey.
locking you up.
Lock
Honestly,
her
this is a
up.
hospital where you're going to get better, Maggie.
Lock her up.
Oh, don't, Maggie, please.
Take the key and lock her up.
Maggie, please.
My fair-
Maggie. Please, you've got nothing to be afraid of. It's me.
Maggie, please. Take the key and lock her up. Lock her up.
All right.
Lock her up.
All right. I think you better go now.
Falling down. Take the bridges falling down. My fair lady.
Well, the police still haven't come up with any clues. I haven't even been able to locate the child in Sam's sketch. You know, Doctor, right from the beginning, I've been hoping that you'd be the one to provide us with answers.
It certainly is my hope. But it will take time. Uninterrupted time.
Well, I don't think any harm is done to science by taking the human factor into account every once in a while.
Oh, Dr. Woodard, our methods have always differed widely.
Agreed.
But if I can come up with the results, that's all that matters, isn't it?
I suppose so.
And you still have faith in my competence?
Look, Doctor, there's no question about that. I may differ with some of your methods, but I've never had any doubt for a second about your ability.
Good.
Have you been able to find any hint at all as to what's the matter with the girl?
Yes.
Was there anything you'd care to tell me?
Not at this time.
Have you shown Maggie the copy of the sketch that Sam made of that little girl?
All in good time.
I thought that'd be your answer. Well, I'll try one more question. Have you gone on with the examination of Maggie's blood?
Certainly.
You know, right from the start, that's the part of this case that's baffled me the most. What I saw in that preliminary examination, well, I told you at the time, it was almost unearthly. I couldn't think of a phrase to describe it then, and I still can't.
Yes.
An unholy union seemed to be going on right in Maggie's blood.
I remember.
Well, have you been able to come up with any more accurate diagnosis than that?
Oh, yes, decidedly.
But can't you tell me what it is?
Not at this time.
Doctor, what was it that I saw? Look, in the name of sanity, what's going on in Maggie Evans' blood?
Didn't you say it yourself? An unholy union?
That was a figure of speech, a feeble effort on my part to describe something I couldn't identify.
Inadvertently, you may have described it very well.
What are you talking about?
All I can say is, I have nothing more to say at this time. Ask them to come in. Mr. Evans and Mr. Haskell have concluded their visit. I'm sorry you had to come so far for such a brief visit.
Well, I guess we shouldn't have seen her.
She was very frightened, wasn't she?
Yeah.
And it was very painful for you as well.
I don't want to talk about it.
Then perhaps you'll allow me to say one thing.
What's that?
Trust me. Trust me to let you know when it's advisable for another visit.
But I had to see her.
But you didn't see her.
What?
Was that your daughter? That frightened, poor frightened child? Well, certainly was not. It may be a long time, Mr. Evans, before you can see your daughter. Until that time, may I observe that your absence may hasten the day. Have you any more questions, Dr. Woodard?
Not at this time. Good afternoon, Doctor.
Good afternoon. I'll be working with Miss Evans in a few moments. Would you make the necessary preparations, please? Thank you.
I wonder what it was that Dave didn't want me to see.
Maggie, obviously.
Or was it Dr. Hoffman?
You knew my name earlier. Have you forgotten it? What is my name? What is my name?
Lock her up. Lock her up. Take the key and lock her up. My fair lady.
My name is Victoria Winters. On this night, a pale moon illuminates the walls of Collinwood, only to pass periodically behind masses of clouds, leaving the great house in total darkness. A night wind blows in from the sea, past the cliffs where many have died, to Collinwood itself. And as it rushes past the great house, a sighing can be heard. Some say it is a call from the dead to the living. For one woman there is terror in the night, for the dead are calling to her, beckoning her to the cliffs where others have died before her. And in a dream, she is having a premonition of her own death.
Mrs. Stoddard? Mrs. Stoddard?
Oh, Vicky. Yes?
Are you all right?
Of course. Why?
Do you know what time it is?
No.
It's 1 o'clock.
Is it?
Have you been asleep all this time?
Sleep? Yes.
Well, that's not like you. You're generally up and around so early. Are you sure that everything is all right?
Oh, I'm fine.
Mrs. Johnson wanted to know if she could fix you any lunch.
Lunch?
What shall I tell her?
Tell her not to bother.
Are you sure?
Yes.
It's a beautiful day outside.
Is it?
I walked down to the garden this morning. Your flowers are all in bloom. You should see them.
Well, I may go for a walk later.
I'm
I'm going out with David after he's finished his homework. Why don't you come with us?
No, I'd rather be alone.
All right. Mr. McGuire was looking for you.
He was?
I told him that I'd be a witness at the ceremony.
Did you?
He told me that I should buy a new dress and charge it to you.
Go ahead.
You don't object?
Why should I?
Well, frankly, I wouldn't feel right about doing it.
As you wish.
I didn't want to have to tell you about it, but I think I should. I overheard Carolyn talking with Buzz on the phone this morning. They were talking about getting a marriage license.
Were they?
You may not think that Carolyn is going to go through with this, but she just might.
I doubt that.
Well, what if she gets the license?
I wouldn't worry, Vicky.
Well, aren't you worried?
No, not now.
Why not?
I've simply decided not to worry. Things have a way of working.
I don't understand.
Please tell Mrs. Johnson not to bother about my lunch.
All right. Are you sure you're going to be all right?
Of course. I'm fine.
Oh, Elizabeth, I've been wondering where you've been keeping yourself.
Have you?
I was beginning to think you were planning on sleeping the day away. It's much too fine a day for that.
Is it?
Would you come into the drawing room, please? I wish to speak with you.
Later. I'm going for a walk.
It'll only take a minute, Elizabeth. And it's very important.
All right.
Please, sit down.
What is it?
Well, it's about our wedding, Liz.
Our wedding? What about it?
Well, now, first of all, I want you to realize that I have your best interest at heart.
Have you?
Well, I know you may not believe it, but I do. Now, I realize, of course, that you have a considerable reputation to maintain in this town. When a Collins marries, the whole community knows about it and is talking about it.
What does that mean?
Well, it means that we can't just rush off to City Hall and go through the motions in front of some justice of the peace. I mean, I think our wedding should have more dignity than that. Well, I'd like it to be held here in this room.
Here?
Well, yes, it seems fitting somehow that a Collins should be married here with the immediate family in attendance. You do agree with me, don't you?
I suppose so.
Well, I'm glad we agree.
It might as well be here. I really don't care where it is.
Oh, but I do.
Then we'll have it here.
Well, good. Now, who is the most prominent judge in the community?
Judge Craythorne.
Ah, Judge Craythorne. Yes. Will you ask him to officiate at the ceremony?
Yes.
Good. Excellent.
Anything else?
Well, yes. I was thinking we ought to have a reception. A rather large reception, actually. I think it's only proper to invite a few men from the cannery and their wives and some of the more prominent families in town, about 20 or 30 in all. Oh, I realize that sounds like an awful lot, but, well, after all, Liz, we want our wedding to be absolutely proper, don't we?
Yes,
Well, then, you agree to the reception.
I suppose so.
Well, I must say, you're being very agreeable today.
There's no point in not being agreeable.
And I'm glad you realize that.
I do.
Well, good. Then I suppose we'd better get on with the plans for the reception. Now, I was thinking about serving champagne and caviar. What do you think?
Leave that up to you.
Well, then you won't object if I tell Mrs. Johnson what to order?
Go ahead.
Well, then I think we ought to have flowers, too. Banks of them. I don't know why flowers are so necessary at weddings and funerals, but they are.
Order what you like. Is that all?
Well, no, Liz. There is just one little detail. It's my wardrobe, Liz. I'm afraid it doesn't quite include the proper dress for a bridegroom, and you see my funds are rather low.
Go to the local haberdasher. You know where he is, and charge whatever you want.
Well, Liz, your generosity overwhelms me.
Is that all? I'd like to go for my walk.
Well, I must say your attitude pleases me very much, and it also has me a bit puzzled.
Puzzled? Why?
Well, you haven't always been so acquiescent.
Perhaps not.
Why the change? You haven't got a trick up your sleeve, have you?
Trick?
You don't think there's a way out of this, do you? Because there isn't.
I know there's only one way out.
Yes, that's right. By keeping our little secret in the family.
Yes.
Well, then, I see you've decided to accept the situation gracefully.
Yes. And now may I go for my walk?
Of course.
Stoddard.
Miss Johnson. Startled me. What are you doing out here?
Well, I came looking for you. I was beginning to be worried.
Why?
Well, you know what time it is? It's coming on to be 7. You've been outside for hours.
Have I?
Yes. What are you doing up here?
I like it up here.
Well, it's dangerous up on this cliff. You could miss your step and fall.
I won't fall. I know the property too well.
Well, just the same, you oughtn't to be here. It's getting very dark.
I'll return to the house in a few minutes.
Well, oh, Mrs. Stoddard.
Yes?
Mr. McGuire says that you'll be wanting to have a really big wedding reception, about 20 or 30 people. Is that true?
Yes.
Well, I don't know if I can handle all that many people by myself.
Well, we'll get in extra help.
Do you really want a big wedding reception?
Mr. McGuire does.
Do you?
Of course, I want what he wants.
All right, if you say so.
It is getting dark. I hadn't noticed.
Listen to that wind.
Yes.
Ooh, I don't see what you like about this place. It gives me the creeps.
Why?
Isn't this where they died, those widows?
Yes.
I don't know if I believe those legends. I don't like to hear some of them.
It isn't just a legend. The widows actually died here. All 3 of them.
That's what they say.
The first was Rachel Comstock. She was the wife of a fisherman. He died when his fishing boat was lost at sea. Her 5 sons, all of them sailors, were lost at sea, too. When they brought her the news, she could only say a few words over and over again. The sea is my grave. My grave is the sea. And so it was. She came to this place one night and carried 6 white roses. 6. For every man who was lost. She threw them into the sea and then jumped to her death.
I've heard that legend before. It makes my blood run cold.
Abigail Tolliver was the second to die. She was a bride, only married a few days when her husband was found dead. Dead by drowning. She followed him into the sea. Her bridal bouquet was found on the rocks by her body. The last to die was Margaret Finley.
I don't know if I want to hear about her.
Margaret Finley. Her husband lost in a storm at sea. She came up here on that same stormy night and followed the others.
Why would anyone want to die that way?
They died because their lives were hopeless.
I've heard the rest of the legend is that they're supposed to be waiting for a fourth one to join them.
Yes.
People can talk about those legends. I don't like to even think about them.
I don't either.
Oh, what a way to die. Look at those rocks below. Look at them.
What?
I said, look at those rocks. What a way to die. Well, we better be getting back, Mrs. Stoddard. What is it? What's wrong? Oh! Here.
I feel faint.
Oh, here. You just lean on me. I'll help you back.
I'll be all right.
Here.
Thank you.
Are you sure you're all right?
Yes, I don't know what came over me.
Well, you still look pale to me. Isn't there anything I can get you?
No, thank you. I'm all right.
Liz! We've all been worrying about you. Where have you been?
Just out for a walk. There was no need for you to worry. I think I'll go up to my room in Westboro.
Wait just a minute, Liz. I have something for you.
Something for me.
Yes, will you come into the drawing room for a moment, please?
All right.
Oh, excuse me.
Oh, don't leave, Miss Winters. We don't mind if you stay, do we, Liz?
No.
Your wedding present.
Wedding present?
Well, it isn't much, but I hope you like it. I wanted you to have it. Well, aren't you going to open it?
Yes.
Well, do you like it?
Lovely.
Its value is only sentimental, I'm afraid. It belonged to my mother, and I wanted you to have it, Liz.
Thank you.
But here, let me put it on for you.
All right.
There. Well, it's very becoming. My mother wore that till the day she died.
I am tired. I think I'll go up to my room and rest for a while before dinner.
Oh, yes, dear. Why don't you do that? Dear Liz, I think she was quite touched with my little wedding gift, don't you?
I guess so.
Well, I'll go have a look at the evening paper. Oh, Miss Johnson, will you call me when dinner is ready?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
I think something's the matter with Mrs. Stoddard.
What do you mean?
Well, the way she disappeared like that, and you know where I found her?
Where?
The top of Widow's Hill.
What was she doing there?
Just staring out over the ocean. And it's a lucky thing I was there, because she almost fainted just before we came home.
Fainted?
Yes, I think it was because of what we were talking about. I got a little shaky myself with that conversation.
What were you talking about?
She was telling me the legends about the widows.
Widows?
Yes. Who each of them were and how they each came to die. She seemed very interested in those legends. And that struck me as odd, her being that interested in them.
It is odd. It's very odd.
I hear you. I hear you calling me. The sea is my grave. My grave is the sea.
Dark Shadows is a Dan Curtis production.
My name is Victoria Winters. There is a cliff near Collinwood that by legend was created for those who have lost all hope because their existence has become intolerable. It is the place of the dividing line between life and death. There is one who has come to this place seeking an escape from problems that have become insurmountable.
The part of Burke Devlin is being played by Anthony George.
Elizabeth!
Let me go.
You were so close to the edge.
Please. Did you think I'd fall?
Well, I was afraid I'd startle you.
Thank you for your concern, but I was in complete control of myself.
I saw a figure standing on the edge. I wasn't certain if it was you. This is a rather forlorn place to find you. Whatever brought you here?
I was just walking. I came to look out at the ocean. It's so different at night. So dark and powerful. A place where one could find serenity, rest.
If that's what one is seeking.
Isn't that what everyone wants?
Only in the end. The very end.
I didn't expect to see you here.
Well, I come here quite often, as a matter of fact.
Why?
Perhaps for the same reason you do. This is an interesting place. A place where decisions were made. A place where those who came here sought refuge from a world filled with pain. A place where life ended and death began.
Why does that interest you?
Because death is the most fascinating and unknown prospect man has.
How can death be fascinating?
It's fascinating when one considers the wide possibilities that it offers.
What could it offer?
A form of eternal existence.
But death is non-existence.
Death, I wonder. No one has clearly defined death. The state of death could bring peace, or it could bring torment, eternal torment.
But life itself can be a torment, which is something we can be sure of.
It still remains to be seen which of the least contains the least torment. Well, this isn't the sort of thinking that a woman about to be married should have.
But they are nonetheless.
You're deeply troubled.
Tormented might be the word.
Torment is an unrelenting pain. And I would think very little of myself if I were to permit you to suffer without my doing something to ease it.
I appreciate that. But I know that I can solve my problems anytime I want.
Solve or terminates, they haven't the same meaning.
They have for me.
Elizabeth, I don't usually involve myself in the lives of others.
That's a wise policy.
But I would make an exception in your case.
It won't be necessary for you to do that. Because I've already found the solution to my problem.
Have you?
Yes. As a matter of fact, you have helped me more than you know.
Well, I'm pleased then.
You've helped me enormously. What was once only a solution, an alternative to a solution, is now the solution.
Your meaning is not quite clear to me.
Soon, it will be clear to everyone. Thank you for walking back with me.
It was my pleasure.
Our talk has strengthened my new point of view.
Well, I only hope it was the right one, the most effective one.
It's that exactly. Thank you very much for everything.
You're quite welcome.
Hi, Aunt Elizabeth. Hi. Why wouldn't she answer?
She has a lot on her mind. Well, how have you been, David?
Fine, I guess. If you're going to ask me if I've been behaving and not playing up at the old house.
I wasn't going to ask you that at all. I know you haven't been playing up there. But a friend of yours has.
A friend of mine?
The little girl you play with.
Little girl?
Willie told me that you've been playing with a little girl up there.
Oh, you mean that kid. Well, she isn't really a friend of mine because I only played with her once.
Well, she's been playing up there frequently. And at night, too. Now, I wish the next time you see her, you'd tell her not to play up there.
Well, I don't know when I'll see her again because she's not the type of kid I play with.
Well, what do you mean?
She's sort of behind times. Would you believe she goes around singing London Bridge?
London Bridge? Well, it's a song that most children sing.
I don't.
Well, you're quite a young, modern man, aren't you? Well, in any case, if you see her, please tell her not to play there.
I'm not allowed to play near the old house.
Where is Miss Winters?
In the drawing room.
Thank you, David.
Come in.
Oh, Miss Winters.
Oh, Mr. Collins.
I hope I'm not disturbing you.
Not at all. I was just correcting one of David's test papers.
That could be a task. You work very hard at your job.
I enjoy what I'm doing. Most people don't always have that opportunity.
You're quite young to have arrived at that conclusion. It shows great maturity and a sense of wisdom.
Oh, thank you. I only wish it were true.
It most certainly is. The Collins family are very fortunate to have you around. I would go even further and say that anyone who comes into close contact with you is extremely fortunate.
If you continue, Mr. Collins, you're going to make me the most conceited person in Collinsport.
I doubt that very much. I doubt that anything could change you.
Mr. Collins.
I see I'm embarrassing you. You're a very modest person. And it's because of this quality in you and your concern for the Collins family that I'd like to call your attention to something quite serious.
What is it?
I just now walked back to Collinwood with Mrs. Stoddard from Widow's Hill. I encountered her there, standing on the very edge of the cliff. It seemed to me that she was preparing to jump.
To jump? Preparing to jump? No, you must be mistaken.
I hope I am. But she was standing on the very edge, looking down, extremely melancholy.
But I don't think
I know she's been under great pressure, and I fear that it's too much for her. There was desperation in her look and a sound in her voice of hopelessness, a look and a sound that I'm familiar with.
Mrs. Stoddard wouldn't do anything like that. She's a strong woman. She's endured a great deal.
But perhaps she cannot endure more.
I don't know. It's just not like her. But then she has been behaving very strangely.
Well, I don't want to alarm you, but I thought you ought to know.
Yes, thank you.
I'm sorry that you've been burdened with the responsibility of this information, but I find that you are the one person with whom I can communicate. And I want you to look to me for advice and help, and you may call upon me at any time.
I will.
You know, we must spend more time talking. I enjoy your company tremendously.
I'd like that.
We'll make it soon. Good night, Miss Winters.
I'll walk out with you. I'm leaving, too.
Well, you're going out this evening?
Yes, I'm having dinner with Burke Devlin.
You see Mr. Devlin often, don't you?
From time to time.
A very interesting man.
Yes, very. I hope you're not trying to find another date.
Just trying to find this one.
I'm sorry, Bert.
I was sorry a minute ago, but I'm much better now. My dime.
What's the matter?
My dime didn't come back.
Well, where did it go?
In there, and it should have come out here. I've lost my dime. You think I ought to fight it out with the telephone company?
No.
Why not? Every dime counts. That's how I made my fortune.
Well, I
I'd say you've gotten your money's worth, even more so.
How so?
Well, you put in your dime and you dialed my number, and before you were finished, I was here. Now that's what I would call service.
Best bargain I've ever gotten. Now we'll make up for lost time.
I've got to take off my coat.
No time for that.
Thank you for asking me out tonight.
My pleasure.
I need this.
So do I.
I have to get out of that house.
Forget about Collinwood for a few minutes.
Burke, sometimes I just can't face going back there. Sometimes I just want to break down and cry. I'm afraid this is going to be one of those times.
Just dance, Vicky. Just dance. Better now?
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Oh, thank you.
Cheers.
Burke, I didn't mean to sound as if I was complaining about my job.
I tell you, Vicky, I don't like some of the things you're exposed to up at that house.
It's all right. It really is.
Personally, I wish you'd give up that job.
Give it up. But then what would I do?
Come to work for me.
Doing what?
Oh, I don't know. I'll create a job for you. You'll be my special assistant. Governess? Tutor? You name it.
What, no vice presidency?
Yours if you want it.
Burke, it helps me so much to know that I can turn to you.
How about turning to me right now?
I couldn't. Not now.
Why not?
Because I'm needed. More than I've ever been needed before.
Vicky, you were hired as a governess, not a psychoanalyst.
But the Collins family is the only family I've ever had. I feel more close to them than anyone.
I'm sorry I'm not included in that group.
You're in a class by yourself.
You're always pulling back.
Perhaps I won't always have to. But right now, I just can't think about myself.
Right? What's the latest crisis?
It's Mrs. Stoddard.
The bride-to-be?
She's been behaving very strangely.
Well, brides usually do, so they say.
Oh, I'm serious. She's been so withdrawn. She doesn't talk to anyone. She's just not herself.
It's no wonder. Being forced into a marriage nobody can do anything about.
What's been happening to her is so frightening.
How do you mean?
Well, I've had 2 reports. The first one is from Mrs. Johnson. She saw Mrs. Stoddard on Widow's Hill.
Widow's Hill? What was she doing?
Just walking, or so she said to Mrs. Johnson. But it's the second report that's the most alarming.
What's that?
Barnabas Collins brought Mrs. Stoddard home. He said that he'd found her on Widow's Hill, standing very near to the edge of the cliff. He said that it looked as though she were preparing to jump.
No. Not Liz Stoddard.
Brooke, I'm afraid she may do something to harm herself. She's in that sort of a mood.
If I knew what Jason McGuire had on her, I might be able to help. I'm having him checked out by a private source.
Won't do any good.
Why not?
Because it just won't.
You know something, don't you? Vicky, if you think that Liz Stoddard is about to harm herself, you've got to tell me what you know.
I have to go. I don't like leaving her alone.
Well, I'll take you.
No, I think it's better if you don't. I'm sorry.
Hi, Aunt Elizabeth.
Oh, David.
Mrs. Stoddard.
Hi, Vicky.
Hello, David. What are you doing?
Just looking through the book that Aunt Elizabeth was reading.
What book is that?
It's the Collins Family Bible. It has the names of all the Collins family, when they were born and when they died.
Well, your Aunt Elizabeth has always been very interested in the Collins ancestry.
Yes, I know. But the page she was looking at has her name on it.
Dark Shadows is a Dan Curtis production.
My name is Victoria Winters. Near the ancient walls of Collinwood, there are cliffs that project upward for hundreds of feet from the turbulent sea below. Some say the cliffs are haunted, for 3 women have died here. And yet, according to the legends, their spirits remain, lingering to beckon another to her death. One desperate woman has become obsessed by this legend, for she is beginning to believe that she is destined to fulfill it, destined to die on the rocks below the cliffs, summoned there by voices beyond the grave.
What am I doing?
Elizabeth,
Vicky, yes. What is it?
Is anything wrong?
No. Do you want something?
Well, I wanted to ask you if I could take David to Bangor for the day.
Bangor?
Yes. He needs some clothes, and, well, I thought we'd sort of make a day of it, an outing, if it's all right with you.
Does it have to be today? Couldn't it be some other day?
Well, I suppose so, but, well, I just thought it's such a lovely day.
Well, what about tomorrow?
Tomorrow? But that's...
Oh, of course. My wedding day.
Surely you hadn't forgotten.
No, but I'd prefer you postpone your trip to sometime later in the week.
Of course.
I haven't seen much of David lately, and I thought we'd spend some time together.
Good morning, Liz.
Morning, Roger.
Vicky. Could I have a word with you, Liz?
Oh, yes, of course. Vicky, why don't you take the day off? I'll look after David.
Oh, but aren't you going to be awfully busy getting ready for the wedding?
Well, I'll have plenty of time to get ready. And I like to be with David.
As you wish. He's having his breakfast right now.
Will you send him up after he's finished? And have you seen Carolyn?
Well, she went out very early this morning, but she wouldn't say where she was going.
Oh, well, when you see her, will you tell her I'd like to speak to her?
I will.
What is it, Roger?
Liz, what is this about your will?
My will?
Garner called and said that he's checking it over. What does that mean?
Well, I asked him to look it over, and he's done it. That's all it means.
Why did you do that?
Because I wanted to make sure it was in order before I got married. I don't see anything strange in that.
You're not thinking of having it changed in favor of your husband-to-be?
Of course not. I wouldn't think of changing it. David and Carolyn are my legal heirs, and they always will be.
Well, then why bother to check it?
I simply thought I should.
Now, for one dreadful moment, I thought that Mr. Jason Maguire had persuaded you to make him heir to the Collinsport Enterprises.
He could never do that.
I wasn't sure. We all know that his powers of persuasion are rather considerable. I still can't believe that you're marrying him willingly.
Roger, please. I don't want to go into that argument again.
Liz, if you want to back out, and I think you do, it's not too late.
Roger, I don't want to back out. I'm not going to back out. And that's the last I want to hear on the subject.
Well, all right, then. I will try to wish you happiness. But I can't really believe you'll have it.
Try to understand. I'm doing what I think is best.
I'll try to understand, Liz. That doesn't mean that I will.
Is that all you wanted to say?
I suppose there's nothing more to say.
No, nothing.
What is this doing up here?
Oh, I was just looking at it.
It's the family Bible, isn't it?
Yes.
I haven't seen that for years. Where on earth did you find it? What do you possibly want to do with it?
Well, I was going to sign it.
Sign it?
Well, I wanted to record the date of my marriage.
Well, that isn't necessary. Have you forgotten the family custom? Nothing was ever recorded in the Bible until after the fact.
Yes, that's right.
So you see, it's really not necessary for you to add your new name in the family tomes now. Elizabeth Collins Stoddard Maguire. I can hardly believe that you're going to be Mrs. Jason Maguire for the rest of your life.
Believe it and try to accept it.
I'll try.
If you said everything you had to say, I'd like to get dressed. Finish dressing.
Apparently, I've said everything that can be said. I'll see you later.
Later. Come in.
Aunt Elizabeth,
Good morning, darling.
why can't I go to Bangor with Miss Winters?
Because I thought we could spend the day together. You can go to Bangor another time.
But we were going to go to the movies. Miss Winters said we could.
Well, you can go to the movies another day.
I wanted to go today. I had it all planned.
Don't you want to spend the day with me?
Well, I guess so, but
But what?
I guess so.
Well, you can go to Bangor if it means so much to you. I'll tell Miss Withers.
No, don't. It's okay.
You don't mind staying here with me?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
I don't like to disappoint you, but I'd like to spend some time with you.
Why today?
Because I'll be busy after tomorrow.
You mean after you get married?
Yes. It's so long since we've spent any time together.
Well, what do you want to do?
Anything you say,
You want to take a walk on the beach?
if you like.
Okay. I'll show you a place that I found. It's a sort of cove in the rocks. I've never shown it to anyone else, but I'll show it to you.
I'd like that.
But you've got to promise to keep it a secret, because I don't want anybody to know about it.
It's a promise.
I like sharing secrets with you, because I know you won't tell.
I'm glad you feel that way. And I hope you always do. You mean a great deal to me, darling.
I do?
Yes, almost more than anybody. And I want you to remember it.
Remember it?
When you're growing up, I want you to remember that you've always been very important to me and always will be. Don't you forget it.
You talk as though you're going someplace. You're not, are you?
No, of course not.
Why are you talking like that?
No special reason. Your hair needs combing.
I hate to comb my hair.
Oh, you'll grow out of that
Will I?
when you're grown up.
Aunt Elizabeth, you seem sad. You look sad.
I'm not. Not really.
Well, you do look sad. For a minute, I thought you were going to cry.
Oh, that's your imagination.
You sure?
Of course. Now, if we're going to go for that walk, we'd better get started. Why don't you go and get your coat and I'll meet you downstairs?
Okay.
Carolyn?
What are you doing, love?
Waiting for you.
Running a bed check?
No.
I suppose you want to know where I've been. All right, Mother, I'll tell you. I was out with Buzz. And what's more, I had a ball.
Don't be so defiant, Carolyn. Not tonight.
Who's defiant? When I find you waiting up for me, I assume you want to know where I've been.
Well, that isn't why I waited up.
No? Then why did you?
Because I wanted to have a talk.
A talk? About what?
About us.
Us?
Well, there was a time when we were very close. I wish we could be that way again tonight.
Why tonight in particular, Mother? Because tomorrow morning you become Mrs. Jason McGuire?
I'd rather not talk about the wedding right now.
Well, it must be in your thoughts.
You're in my thoughts.
Why me?
Because I realize that what's happening to you is my responsibility.
Mother, nothing is happening to me. I'm simply living my life, the way you're living yours.
You're my life.
Am I?
You always have been, from the moment you were born.
Well, now you have a life of your own. And someone to share it with. And so do I.
No one will ever mean as much to me as you do.
Even your prospective bridegroom?
Oh, let's leave Jason out of this. I'm talking about us.
Mother, do you want me to give my consent to your marriage? All right. You have it.
Darling, I know you don't approve of this marriage.
It's not up to me to approve or disapprove. It's your business.
I know there are a lot of things I've done that you must disapprove of. Couldn't or wouldn't understand. But I've never stopped loving you for 1 minute. And don't you forget it.
All right, Mother.
Do you believe me?
I want to believe you.
Well, try. Because everything I've told you is the truth.
If only I could understand you better.
Perhaps you'll never fully understand me, but don't ever doubt my love for you. That's all I ask.
Mother, how can you throw yourself away on a man like Jason McGuire? How can you do it?
I thought we weren't going to talk about Jason.
Jason is the cause of all the trouble between us. The fights, the quarrels, the misunderstandings, they've all been because of him. And you tell me you love him and want to marry him? How can you feel that way about him, Mother? How is it possible?
I can't explain.
Then don't try. Maybe you're right. Maybe it is a mistake for us to try to talk about it.
Where are you going?
To bed.
No, not yet.
Mother, I don't want to argue with you.
I don't want to argue either.
Every talk we have seems to turn into an argument these days.
Well, there was a time when that didn't happen.
Why do you keep talking about the past?
Because I want you to remember things the way they were. It's very important to me.
Mother, we have to live in the present and think about the future.
Sometimes the future takes care of itself.
What does that mean?
Nothing.
You're behaving very strangely tonight.
Am I? Well, I suppose it's because I'm tired.
I think you'd better get up to bed. You have a big day ahead of you in the morning.
I guess you're right.
Good night, Mother.
Good night, darling.
Vicky, I didn't know you were still out. I thought you were upstairs asleep. Well, I didn't mean to stay out this late, but Burke took me all the way to Clearwater for dinner. I just got in myself. I better not make too much noise. I guess everybody must be asleep. Everyone except Mother. She just went up to bed a few minutes ago. This late? She was still waiting up for me when I got home. Vicky, I'm sort of worried about her. Why? She was behaving very strangely tonight. Strangely? I don't know how to describe it. She was very quiet. Almost too quiet. Well, I suppose that it's natural for a woman to want to be quiet and alone on the night before her wedding. She kept refusing to talk about the marriage. Or Jason either. Almost as if the wedding weren't a fact. as if it were never going to take place.
Well, she knows how you feel about it. Naturally, she wouldn't want to talk about it.
She kept telling me how much she loves me.
Well, that's true.
She kept insisting that I remember that. All the time I was talking to her, I had the oddest feeling.
What kind of a feeling?
The feeling that we were saying goodbye.
Goodbye?
I know it sounds odd, but that's the way I felt.
It must be your imagination.
Maybe.
Carolyn, it has to be. Your mother wants your acceptance of her marriage, and that's all.
I guess so. I hardly think she's planning to run away. But the way she was behaving tonight threw me a little. I will admit that.
I'm sure that there's nothing to worry about.
I guess not.
Well, I guess we should be getting up to bed. It's late.
You go ahead. I'll turn off the lights.
I'll see you in the morning.
Good night, Vicky.
Mrs. Stoddard?
Dark Shadows is a Dan Curtis production.
My name is Victoria Winters. Death walks among us, calling upon those he has chosen, and they follow him, for there is no alternative. He chooses his meeting place as well, and arranges the time with great care. But there are those who seek him out and ask escape from the burden that life imposes. Mrs. Stoddard?
The part of Burke Devlin is being played by Anthony George.
Mrs. Stoddard! Stoddard!
Vicky, go away.
Please!
Vicky, leave me alone.
What are you doing?
I said leave me alone now.
You're standing too near the edge. Please come away
It
from
doesn't
there.
matter where I'm standing. Nothing matters.
Please, Mrs. Stoddard.
Back to the house.
Come with me.
I'll come later.
Please. Mrs. Stoddard,
Let
please.
go of me.
Not until you come away from there.
Go of me, I
Please,
said.
don't struggle or we'll both go. You're doing a wrong thing.
I've spent my life doing the wrong thing. This is the only thing left to do. Leave me alone.
Please come back to the house.
I can't. I can't ever.
Why not?
Because there's nothing left for me. I have to go through with this.
No, you don't. There must be another way out.
What other ways? I've thought this over very carefully. Do you think I'd go this far if there was some alternative?
If you just give it a little more time, I'm sure you'll find another way.
There isn't any more time. Tomorrow I'm marrying Jason McGuire. I betrayed the Collins family, my daughter. And what's worse, I betrayed myself.
Oh, Mrs. Stoddard, you haven't betrayed anyone. On the contrary, you've acted with great courage. You've been carrying a terrible secret for 18 years, and you've never shown any weakness until now.
I haven't the strength to fight anymore.
Yes, you have.
But there's nothing to fight for. It's one thing to recognize hopelessness, but it's another to admit it. I've admitted it, and there's nothing left to do.
There will always be hope as long as you're alive.
There's more to it than that. You forget. I killed my husband. I deserve to be punished for that.
Mrs. Stoddard, you've sat in judgment for yourself for much too long. You've sentenced yourself. You've imprisoned yourself. And then now you want to be your own executioner. Please, Mrs. Stoddard, I beg of you, tell the others about your husband and let them judge you. I know that they won't be as hard on you as you've been on yourself.
It wouldn't make any difference. I've ruined Carolyn. To tell her what I did to her father would destroy her completely.
Think a minute, Mrs. Stoddard. If you were to die now, what would happen? Jason McGuire would go completely free. And Carolyn, what would happen to her? How do you think she'd feel, knowing that you'd killed yourself because of her? Wouldn't she blame herself? And wouldn't she carry that guilt with her for the rest of her life? Mrs. Stoddard, your death would destroy Carolyn. If you went over that edge, it would be the same thing as taking her with you. Mrs. Stoddard, where there's life, there's always a hope.
I said goodbye to this place a little while ago. I never thought I'd see it again.
You'll always be in this house, Mrs. Stoddard. It wouldn't exist without you. Why don't you go upstairs and get some rest?
No. There are things to be discussed. I've got to know where to turn, what to do next.
Why don't you let me tell Carolyn why you're marrying Jason?
She wouldn't understand.
I'll make her understand.
No. It would only make her hate me more. If she's to be told, it has to be another time.
But you'll be married by then.
It seems that's the only thing left for me to do.
Couldn't you put it off for a little longer?
No. I've delayed as long as I can. Jason won't wait.
Or will he? Mrs. Stoddard, it seems to me that it would be much more to his advantage to marry you than to go to the sheriff and tell him what happened 18 years ago.
I can't afford to call his bluff.
I wish there was something I could do to help you.
No. You have helped me. You've made me want to live again. There's just one other thing I have to ask of you.
What is it?
Please never talk about what nearly happened on the hill.
It really isn't a very good idea to talk about things that nearly happened, is it?
Thank you, Vicky.
Here's another thing, though. There is a date in the family Bible that was put in error. I think it should be erased.
Will you do that for me?
Gladly.
Thank you.
Oh, Liz, I've been looking all over for you, but you weren't in the house.
I was out.
We went for a walk.
Ah, how nice. The bride and her bridesmaid. Excuse me, Liz, I'd like to speak to you for a minute.
Not now.
Well, it'll only take a minute. Will you excuse us, Vicky?
I want Vicky to stay.
Oh, you do?
Mrs. Stoddard isn't feeling well.
Oh, I see. Where now? Are you her doctor?
I want to see to it that she isn't upset.
Well, that's very thoughtful of you, Vicky. But it's very easy to diagnose what's wrong with her. She's just a nervous bride.
I don't find your humor particularly fitting.
Oh, well, then perhaps you'll find this more fitting.
What is it?
Well, open it and find out. It's the best I could do on such short notice. Shall we put it on and see how it looks? How it is? What's the matter?
I won't put that ring on.
Well, Liz, I bought this ring for you.
I am not putting it on.
Vicky, I'm afraid I'll have to insist that you go. Mrs. Stoddard and I have something very important to talk about.
Mrs. Stoddard wants me to stay.
It's all right, Vicky. I can deal with this now.
Are you sure?
Surer now than ever. You can go, it's all right.
All right.
Have you told that girl anything?
I only tell people what I think they ought to know.
You've become very adept recently at giving very vague answers.
At last we have something in common.
What is all this about not putting the ring on?
At the ceremony, for the sake of the others, I will permit you to put that ring on my finger, but not before.
Well, I see that our marriage may be tempestuous and stormy, but it'll never be boring.
Nor will it ever be a real marriage.
I have your report here on Jason McGuire. Yes. Yes, it's exactly what I wanted. That's good. Keep sending anything else you can dig up. Right. Okay. Bye.
Hello, Burke.
Hello, Vicky.
I came as quickly as I could.
I'm sorry to have asked you to come on such short notice.
Well, that's all right, but I have to get back soon because of the marriage, the wedding.
What I have to say may affect the wedding.
What is it?
Vicky, I know how upset you've been. I know what this wedding is doing to everyone. So I took it upon myself to do something. I've had some investigators on it.
What did you find out?
Jason McGuire has an international reputation.
What?
Oh, he's never been in jail, but he's been so close to it that I almost admire him for his agility. I have reports here from Hong Kong, Rio, Marseille, you name it.
What's he done?
He's been accused of smuggling, swindling, extortion, but they've never had enough proof to prosecute him.
With a reputation like that, why wasn't he at least detained?
Because of insufficient evidence. Because he frequently skipped the country, and without evidence, they couldn't extradite him.
What does all this mean?
It means that he's wanted in several places. They feel that if they can question him again, they might be able to break through his alibis.
But can he be arrested?
Arrested, no. But the minute he sets foot in any of those countries, he'll be picked up.
What does that have to do with the wedding?
I want to submit this information to Liz Stoddard. I'm sure that when she knows it, she'll call it off.
I'm afraid it's too late.
But there's a chance. Surely there's a chance.
Yes, there is a chance.
I'm really not in the mood to see Burke.
Please talk to him for just a few minutes.
What does he want?
He wants to do something for you.
Hello, Burke.
Hello, Liz.
I only have a few minutes.
You may have more time than that.
What do you mean?
I won't go into a discussion on your motives for marrying Jason McGuire. All I want to do is make you aware of the kind of man he is.
I know what kind of man he is.
Do you know the things he's done?
I know all I need to know.
I've had some investigators checking him out. They came up with this.
What is that?
A report on the illegal activities he's been involved in.
Illegal?
Smuggling, stealing. Read it yourself.
No.
Please look at it, Liz.
No.
Why not?
Are you submitting proof of a crime to me?
I'm submitting proof to you of a man who has such a lack of decency and honesty that the true crime would be his marriage to you.
How dare you say that to me?
I didn't say it to insult you, Liz. I said it because I honestly believe you're being forced into a marriage.
You have no right to make such an assumption.
Please, Mrs. Stoddard, Burke is trying to help.
You would help me by forgetting about me and about Jason McGuire.
Forget about Jason McGuire? Impossible. Well, now just what is it about me that's supposed to be forgotten?
He came to wish me well.
Oh, well, now that's very thoughtful of him.
I came here hoping to talk her out of marrying you.
Please, Burke.
Well, did he succeed?
No.
Well, now, Mr. Devlin, it seems that you failed at something, haven't you?
So far, I have.
Oh, I see. You intend to continue with the action?
I'm afraid I don't have any ammunition left.
Well, now, what sort of ammunition are you using?
Your character.
Ah, well, you see, now, that's your mistake. Because she's marrying me because of my character.
I'm inclined to agree with that.
Well, tell me, Mr. Devlin, just what aspect of my character are you attacking?
This aspect.
What is that?
Shall I read it aloud?
Ah, now. Isn't that interesting?
That was all the information I was able to come up with on short notice. I'm sure I haven't even scratched the surface.
I can explain all of this, you know.
I was certain you could.
Liz? Does any of this really bother you?
No.
There you are, Mr. Devlin. I think you better have this back. It must have cost you a pretty penny. Have it encased in plastic or something. It's very artistic. Oh, and as long as you're here, I may as well invite you to the wedding tomorrow. It'll be a very nice ceremony. Perhaps you among others, might care to shed a tear or two. Good night, my darling.
Dark Shadows is a Dan Curtis production.
My name is Victoria Winters. Soon the sun will set on Collinwood, and the night, in its inexorable journey across the land, will plunge the ancient house into darkness. A darkness of the spirit, a darkness of the mind, a darkness of the will. And it will seem at times that light and truth have been banished forever, leaving behind the desperation and fear of people who do not know what the darkness holds.
Very soon, you're going to regret being here. You're going to regret being here very much.
The part of Burke Devlin is being played by Anthony George.
Pick up that book. I said pick up that book.
Let go of me.
I will when you agree to pick up that book. Now hand it to me. Well, did you find it interesting reading?
I didn't read any of it. I have to go.
I suppose you think it's a diary, a chronicle of my every act for the last 20 years.
Maybe.
I suppose you expected to find something in here that would prevent me from marrying your mother this evening.
I don't know if it's written in that book, Jason, but I know it exists.
Oh? And if it does exist, do you think I'm fool enough to write it down? Come on now, Carolyn. You must give me credit for more intelligence than that.
I don't give you credit for being anything but a fake.
Now that, I'm afraid, is a major mistake. Because as you now know, I am only all too real. And for an example, my marriage to your mother this evening will be quite real.
No, it won't be. Because you'll be forcing her into it.
And the fact that she will be Mrs. Jason McGuire will also be quite real.
Don't make me sick.
And my prerogatives as her husband will also be quite real, and I intend to exercise them to the fullest.
We'll see about that.
Ah, yes, we will. Would you like a little sampling of it right now?
What do you mean?
Well, now, I expected you to be married today to the worthy Mr. Buzz.
It's no business of yours whether I do or don't.
Ah, but it is, Carolyn.
I fail to see how.
Because I expect you to get married and leave Collinwood.
Are you telling me to leave my own house?
I'm telling you to leave my house.
Yours?
Exactly.
This house belongs to my mother.
This house belongs to Mrs. McGuire, and I am Mr. McGuire. And I'm telling you in so many words to get out. Now, is that clear enough?
I will not be thrown out of my own house.
I'm afraid it's a little bit late for you to have a voice in the decision.
We'll see about that.
Now, just how long did you think you could push me around? Ever since I got here, I've had nothing out of you. Nothing but insults and insinuations.
And all of it deserved.
I've done my best to get along with you.
The only way we can get along is for you to leave.
Yes, for one of us to leave, and I'm afraid you're elected. Now I want you out of this house tonight.
Tonight?
Yes. And don't make the mistake of not taking me seriously.
What will you do if I don't go?
Why, then I'll ask Mrs. McGuire to make the request personally.
She'd never do it.
No. You thought she'd never allow me into Collinwood, didn't you? And yet I'm here. And then you thought she'd never marry me, didn't you? But she is. You think she won't ask you to leave? How ridiculous.
I know she wouldn't.
Because of her love and loyalty to me, she can deny me nothing.
Love!
Yes. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must straighten out my things. And then I must dress. Because I'm getting married, you know.
Jason, that will never happen.
Stick around for a few hours. Oh, and meanwhile, you might utilize the time to pack up your own things. And now, will you excuse me? I do need a moment alone so that I can contemplate the happiness I have to look forward to. Oh, and Carolyn. And by the way, no doubt the wedding will be too moving for words. So I'll say it now.
Say what?
Goodbye.
know this is an international holiday? This evening, Mrs. Elizabeth Collins Stoddard of Collinsport is going to marry Mr. Jason McGuire of Nowhere. Why isn't everybody out celebrating?
Why don't you go home, Miss Stoddard? Don't you think you've had enough to drink?
Home. What's that? Finally, here's somebody. Oh, it's you.
What are you doing here?
Waiting for my husband.
Oh, no. Don't tell me you married that creep.
Not yet. But stick around.
Come on. I'm gonna get you out of here.
That's what you think. And don't argue with me. I'm not in the mood for it.
Okay?
Hey, where are you going? Keep me a little company, can't you?
Not unless I can take you somewhere else and get you some coffee.
I told you I can't leave. I'm an about-to-be bride, waiting for my about-to-be groom.
So you're really gonna do it, huh?
I said I would, didn't I?
Yeah, but I wasn't sure I believed you.
My mother didn't believe me either. And she got another thing coming. She thinks she can get rid of me.
What'd you say?
Nothing.
Okay, have it your way.
She probably thinks the same thing, too.
What?
I said she wants to get rid of me.
Who?
My mother.
3 seconds ago, you said she didn't think you'd go through with it.
Don't confuse me. Oh, but they both think they can get me out.
Carolyn, I thought you were the one that wanted out.
How can she do this to me? He's probably really the one that's making her do it. If it weren't for him, none of this would be happening.
Carolyn, you gotta try not to get so mad at everything.
Mad? Who's mad? Unless you mean crazy mad. I think that's where I'll go for my honeymoon. I think I'll go crazy. Let me have another.
You don't need another one.
Don't tell me what I need. I am not going to let him do this to me. I am not.
Look, Carolyn, if it's McGuire you're talking about, there's nothing you can do.
Isn't there?
As a matter of fact, you're marrying that creep Buzz would probably satisfy McGuire more than anything else.
Maybe I won't marry Buzz after all.
You mean that?
Maybe there's something else I can do.
Wait a minute, I'll go with you.
No, I'm all right.
You're not all right.
Yes, I am. For the first time in a long time.
I don't know where you're going, but I'm taking you there.
All right. To Collinwood, please. I hear they're having a wedding. Is there anything else that I can do?
There's nothing else to do. Oh, wait. On the bureau, there's a handkerchief. May I have it, please?
It's lovely.
It was my grandmother's. She had it at her wedding. And she gave it to my mother, and my mother gave it to me. Put it away.
You don't want it?
It's only supposed to be used for weddings. And this can hardly be called a wedding.
I understand.
I had it the day I married Paul Stoddard. I was so happy. I loved him so much. At least I thought I did. The life we were going to have together. I was so happy, Vicky. But that wasn't much of a wedding either. Or rather, much of a marriage.
Don't think about it.
Oh, I wish I didn't have any thoughts at all. I wish my mind were a blank. Free of thought. Free of feeling. Just empty.
It doesn't work that way. The less one tries to think of something, the more it seems to take over.
I know. Maybe I'll just go mad, and that'll be the answer to everything.
Please don't say that.
Oh, it would be a mercy, wouldn't it? Just no mind at all, nothingness.
Please, Mrs. Stoddard.
Don't worry. I don't deserve it. Mercy.
It's still not too late to call off the wedding, you know.
It was too late the day I met Paul. It was too late the day I married him. It was too late the day I killed him. Put the handkerchief away. Or maybe I should throw it away.
Throw it away.
Who will use it now? Carolyn, at her wedding?
Maybe someday someone will.
Oh, Vicky, where is she?
I don't know.
She's not going to marry that man, is she?
I don't know.
Isn't it enough that I ruined my life? Why did I have to ruin hers?
The marriage can be annulled.
It's not that easy. It's not that easy to be free. It was that way with Paul. I was never free of him. Even when I found out the kind of a man he was, I was never free. Never for 1 minute of one night or one day. Why didn't you let me die?
I couldn't do that.